91X, it's Marty and Danielle with the singer of my favorite band of all time, Greg Graffin. Dr. Greg Graffin, let me say that, right? Let's give it proper.
It's all right. We're all friends here. You can just call me Doctor.
I have sat down with Brian multiple times, Jay multiple times. Hetson and I have chopped it up a little bit on the golf course. I am truly honored to be having this moment with you after this many years.
Well, after you talk to them, I don't know if I can fill in any more stories for you.
Well, I've been hyper in tune to the music and literature and art that you've been putting out into the world. Danielle and I do the morning show here in San Diego on 91X, a station that you're very familiar with. I have to say, you probably have more memories of this station than I do. I got here in 2003. What is your first memory of the radio station before we get into these streaming shows, the decade shows the Bad Religion are about to get into?
Well, I have a long history, obviously, because Bad Religion started playing in San Diego. Probably our first show was 1980 or 81. But 91X didn't come to those early shows, but they were pretty early on the, they started playing Bad Religion pretty early. They were early adopters of our sound. And I actually, my first wife got married in Del Mar, California. My kids and I have, fond memories and long history going back to San Diego County. So, I started dating her in 1984 and spending a lot of time in Del Mar listening to the radio. And 91X, of course, was always playing.
And now you're on Y43, so congratulations. I heard you guys just celebrated your 3-week anniversary. That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Hey, this is something that's been on our mind because of the craziness of being in school during 2020. How is being a professor for you right now? How's that working out?
Well, the listeners should know that I've spent a lot of time at universities, and I've since Bad Religion has really been a full-time touring band, ever since I got my PhD, we've been trying to balance my academic work and Bad Religion's full touring schedule. So, I'm a professor in an unconventional way. I'm a lecturer. I teach one class a year. It's nice to maintain my academic connections, but in terms of how it's affected, the first class that I had to teach under these new guidelines was last July, and I'm slated to teach again in June at Cornell University. And these were, I didn't know what to think, because teaching, I believe, should be a real interactive. I teach my classes kind of in the Socratic method. I encourage people to speak out and encourage them to question and challenge me if they think I'm full of shit. And, the thing is, that's the way that you learn. That's how you can, I try to teach people how to think, not what to think, and in order to do that, you've got to speak out. So that I thought was going to be challenging to do that online, which I had to do last July, and I'm slated to do it again in June. But to be honest with you, it actually turned out pretty good. I didn't expect it to, but I think one thing that this kind of technology allows us for, if you're captivating enough, if you're an interesting lecturer, if you've got something interesting to say, people will listen. But if you're just a conventional kind of boring professor who delivers a lot of information that they have to memorize, this can be torture. So I always tried to make it exciting, and I'm not that effervescent, but I do think that challenging them to think and giving them good ideas is what kept them coming back.
The book, Do What You Want, that was something you guys planned on getting out and promoting and being in front of people, and you had a tour planned with Alkaline Trio that didn't come to fruition. A lot of people have had a lot of things not come to fruition. But can you talk about the book and the input that you guys all put in, specifically your part?
Well, incidentally, that tour with Alkaline is going to still happen. It was just postponed.
Okay. All right. Right. Yeah.
You're right. I think in
We're
the
still
sense,
going to Disneyland with our plans, but they're just not right now. Right.
yeah,
My
exactly.
5-year-old
So I
agrees.
just think, we always have to be careful these days because we're all in this together, and we don't want to indicate that we're throwing in the towel on anything. We're sort of on pause, and we had great plans for 2020, and they're still going to be carried out. One of those plans was to coincide our concerts to coincide with our release of our book. It's called Do What You Want. And that's, sort of outlines the 40 years of bad religion that have transpired in an instant. And we got, I guess it's almost impossible to think, how can you put that much history into a short, readable summary? And we hired a guy named Jim Ruland, a great writer, to do that. Jim is also San Diego based, by the way. So
He's been on with us. He's talked about the book with us. Yeah. Him and his girl came in. Yeah.
So Jim, did a fantastic job. He spent a lot of time with all of us and spent a lot of time talking to people in the music industry and even roadies and fans from all over the world. And he really put a lot of research into these interviews, or I should say he used the interviews as research and was able to distill them, and probably hundreds and hundreds of hours it took him to transcribe all those interviews. But, then spending time with us on the road, coming to my house and hanging out, and we hosted him for a number of days. These are the kinds of things that you get a feeling for who the band is. And it really, I think, aided his ability to tell this fantastic story. So it was a real monumental achievement, I think, even though I didn't, I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm tooting Jim's horn because he did have a big subject. I kept telling him, man, I don't envy you. I don't want to tell this story.
Yeah. As a purveyor of literature yourself, we know this about you. I have a personal question. Do you have a favorite book or favorite writer you'd want to share with us? And maybe this is on record somewhere and I don't know. Do you have something you go to or something you're following that you can put upon us to search out? I know, I'm not, you guys are discover your own way. We know that, but is there something right now that we should be looking at that you like?
This is hard because asking an academic to give you a quick summary of reading materials is like asking a record collector to pick out a few favorites. It's very difficult. But I would say if you were someone who's curious in reading, I've really benefited from reading popular science books more than anything. Popular science, having scientists who can communicate with the public is one of the most important things we have today. And so, I've always benefited from reading authors like Richard Dawkins, who, even though he's controversial in many ways, if you read his general books, they're very enlightening.
Yeah.
And, I always go back to, my father is a retired English professor, so I grew up with literature in the house, and I always benefited from balancing popular science with fiction, and reading the great novelists. So I've benefited greatly since Bad Religion's time. I've benefited mostly from Salman Rushdie and Don DeLillo. And anything you can find by these authors, you will be challenged and enlightened from.
I picked up a book at a swap meet the other day called How Things Work, and it was 30 years old. But the 30 years, this is pre-phones and flat screen TVs and all the technology we love and live with now. But it's so great, the simplicity of the 1, 2, 3 of how an idea becomes reality. And I think some of those artists that you and authors you cited right there are testament to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you like books like that, you know, there's a sort of how things work in science by a guy who used to have a television show that a lot of you guys, when you were young, probably watched. Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill. Yeah, I'm a millennial,
so Bill is putting out some very popular books right now about how things work in science. So you might benefit from those.
I'll look up this Bill Nye you speak of and see what I can find. Greg, we want to talk to you about these amazing streaming shows that you guys have coming. There's going to be 4 of them. You're going to take on a decade of the 40 years that you guys been a band, Bad Religion, at a time. The chunk in the beginning is going to be the 80s, which is the No Control, Suffer, How Could It Get Any Worse days. Can you speak on that show and what you guys have planned for it?
Well, you know, we just felt like we had to play some music this year, and we got together. We all got tested and created our own little bubble. And we went to the Roxy Theater in Hollywood, and we said, how can we do a proper celebration of our 40 years? Because little known fact, it was actually October of 1980 when the band first took to a stage. So October really was a very meaningful, sentimental month for us. And that was when we decided to get together at the Roxy. And so we wanted originally to have a great celebration and sort of a birthday party with our fans. The next best way we could do that, though, was by doing this streaming event. And we carved out a package that included 10 years of material. And lo and behold, we had 4 full episodes, 4 decades full of music. And so we picked and chose from those, and we spent a few days making set lists and assembling them into coherent packages of shows. And that's what's starting tomorrow. You'll be able to see in 4 different episodes released over the next 4 weeks.
So give us it sounds like you're able to go behind the curtain a little bit. So this series of shows already taped, already made, already created, and they were over a couple of days, and you obviously didn't just do 80s. I mean, I was at the Troubadour watching the, Suffer front to back. That was amazing. That was good times. And I'll confess, I've seen you probably about 25 times. The Muse Inc. show, actually, with some real true Southern California OGs in that hangar. You may remember that show. I felt like that was my best Bad Religion, where the energy was so synergistic and how you were in tap with the audience. It's never dull. And then we could talk about the Palladium shows too, but we won't. But how did that go? How did you guys create it? They're already made and they're going to be in a beautifully produced, seamless event. Is that how it's going to go?
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you about spontaneity is that it's going to be real spontaneous for me. I still haven't seen them, so whatever is going to be on tomorrow, that's my first time seeing these things. So your guess is as good as mine.
Okay.
It was all done in house. You know, I think the guys have seen it more than me, and it was being produced and edited by our friends, so I have nothing but trust in the people putting it together. But they put together some interviews. We talked a lot about these songs, and they put together some stock footage. I'm sure they found some of that, and they put together some backstage and rehearsal. We had rehearsed for the week prior to the shows, so there's a lot of stuff in there that's going to show sort of the character of the band, where everyone thinks we're very, very serious, but we're actually not. The band is our chance to really act like we did when we first met each other in 10th grade. So we haven't matured much since that time.
No bigger moment did I realize that than when you guys played Street Scene here. I think it was 2002. No, 2003, 4. But I was lucky enough to bring you on stage, and Jay has recalled this as the band, or at least his favorite San Diego moment, where you were brought to the stage before the Pistols were to go on in a police escort at high speed from the airport. Do you remember that show?
Until you said the Pistols, I didn't remember that that was their tour. But Street Scene, of course. I mean, I was disappointed when I think they stopped doing that concert, didn't they?
True. Yeah.
That was like one of my. I really enjoyed. We played a number of those, and of course, the most memorable one was when we flew in late from a festival in Sacramento or something, and
Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, Vegas. And it's like, hey, you guys are on in 20 minutes, when we landed. And I thought, this is doable. But it obviously wasn't. And then the police gave us an escort. So that was pretty spectacular. I'd never been in that situation before. But, I think it was appropriate. I would have done it for me.
Since you have, so much history here in San Diego, I gotta know, is there a restaurant or a taco shop or anything that you have to hit up every time you're in San Diego?
Well, it's pretty junky, but I still go to Fidel's whenever I can. And
there it is.
That is the spot, man. So many little pockets of that place, and the mariachis are,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's still, I don't know. I've been there whenever we're in Southern Cal, I go over there, but I go at off hours. I don't have a regular job, so I can.
Right now, looking through this computer at you, I would say that you're a maitre d' at a fine restaurant with the lighting in the background. What's going on behind you? Because all the people want to know. There's guitars. There's a soft orange light. Is that a keyboard?
Yeah, this is just my home studio. This is like where I do my songwriting and demo recording. There's a piano. I don't know if you can see. There's a big piano back there. And my screen is just 3 stripes of our faces, so I can't tell
what's going on.
I'm in Hillary's office. I'm sure you know Hillary.
Yeah, say hi to her for me.
I will.
And the lighting is just, I've got these really cool old lamps. Those are, the shades are made out of a mineral, actually. Those are mica lamps, and it's just a curiosity for any geology buff like myself.
Greg, thank you for satisfying some of my curiosity and Danielle's curiosity.
Yes, thank you.
Obviously ride or die with the band. And thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to say to the people in this weird and difficult time, as it gets dubbed so often in a cliche form?
I wish I could tell you something you haven't heard before, but we do. I can tell you from the heart, we look forward to seeing you again. So that's probably the most heartfelt thing I can say.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So much love. Thank you for 40 years. Here's to another 40. Good God, that would be some science if that happened.
We'll try our best.
Thank you, Greg Graffin of Bad Religion. Looking forward to the shows.
Take it easy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
91X.